I cannot afford to waste time. I just, at 41, I just can't waste the time that I wasted at 21.
How often are we talking ourselves out of being brave?
You're the most secure man I ever met in my entire life. Give this man a raise.
The power of connection comes from the power of asking the right questions. I'm just not afraid to try anything. I'm not afraid to get ghosted. I'm not afraid to pitch to the craziest thing. She goes, you are not just a speaker. You picked a young man's life off the floor.
Jeez.
And then Kobe walks in the room. And it was like...
You're crying.
Oh, bro, I'm like, what's
the
going
Mamba.
on? Yeah.
Hey, it's Rich, and you're listening to the Mature Me podcast, weekly content devoted to all things life, leadership, culture, and faith. Thank you for taking some time to tune in. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on all our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new Mature Me podcast. My name is Rich Wilkerson Jr., and wherever you're at in the world, thank you so much for taking some time to tune in with us. If you're watching by way of YouTube or one of the other platforms, do us a favor, like, subscribe, share. It helps us so much around here. This is the podcast that we talk all things growing up, not just growing old, but growing better, growing stronger, growing wiser. And today I am joined by an old friend. I feel like I say that a lot coming in on the Mature Me podcast because this has been such a fun space for me to find people and reminisce a little bit. But my guest today, we go actually way back, but it's been some years since I've gotten to see him. But I am watching from afar. And I am so inspired, so blown away. I'm trying to figure out how to get you to VU, but the guy's calendar is so packed. Today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine. You're going to get to know him if you don't already know him. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He is a corporate executive coach. He's a speaker, pastor, leader, child of God, husband, father. Keep going. This is my friend, Ryan Leake, everybody.
Rich, thanks so much for having me, man.
Bro, I'm honored. Are you kidding me?
You have had such a profound impact on my life, how I think you by far have to be one of the best leaders in the church today. I just, everybody that I know that knows you doesn't just talk about your communication gift, but they just talk about your leadership gift and
You're
just,
kind.
you know, even just how everybody here acts and talks, you can tell they've been led really well. So
you're very, very kind for saying that.
Yeah.
And I am going to start paying you monthly to coach me because I want to level up, if you know what I'm talking about. Brother,
awesome.
It has been a while, and I appreciate your kind words. And today we're going to take some time talking. We'll maybe go backwards a little bit and also go forwards. But honestly, I just... You and I recently were at an event that we missed each other.
Yeah.
And I think I was hitting you because I'm like, yo, man, what was that like? And feeling those things. But just getting to watch you. And I know social media isn't always everything, you know, but it does give us some of those highlight moments.
Yeah.
And I have been so inspired watching you. You've always been great, but you're one of those kind of people that I think embodies what we're talking about here on Mature Me. It's like you just keep getting better.
Trying to.
And well, I think you're doing it, man. And I'm excited to talk about that. Maybe just kind of give everyone, just because I don't even introduce all the way, tell everyone what you're doing now. Because we'll take some people down some journeys, but like tell them what a day in your life right now is kind of looking like these days, what you're up to. Like you're in Miami right now speaking at the Fountain Blue, for goodness sake.
Yeah, so I get to do about 120 events a year. We probably write a book about every year and a half. And I get to go around and add value to people's lives. I get to do events with, you know, people like John Maxwell. You know, some people are familiar with him in the leadership space. And I do about 20 to 25 church weekends a year, just depending on the year and the capacity, so to speak. And, you know, I grew up in the church. Dad was a pastor.
Yeah.
And I loved how much my dad loved his community. Our church was never bigger than 125 people. My dad never even talked about growth. I didn't even know that was a thing. And what was interesting is when I was in the 5th grade, my father, unfortunately, he had a stroke and he lost his church. Well, I was going to a private Christian school that was an Assemblies of God school. I didn't even know what that was, but that was a school that I was a part of. And so my parents, they said, hey, why don't you just start going to church with your friends? So I grew up in the African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so AME.
Let's go.
And then we swing over to AG. All right, so I went from an all-black church to a predominantly white church.
To the Royal Rangers program.
No question about it.
I don't know about that.
Yes. So, I mean, dude, I grew up in a church. There was one service. It was one very long service, but it was just...
We covered everything on that service.
Everything in that service. We had choirs for days. We had a choir for everybody. We had a divorced people choir, old people choir, children's choir.
All the gifts of the Spirit always had to actually show up in every service.
No question. A selection, B selection.
Went from salvation to eschatology in one moment.
Bro, all of it. I mean, so many offerings. I mean, we...
That got me.
We do 5 offerings and raise like $10,000.
Bro, the days of like 2 and 3 offerings, man.
Bro.
Are there still some places doing the...
Of course.
Okay, great.
They have.
Great. No, I want that.
Yeah.
I actually long that. We had to keep that, you know?
No question.
I grew up with some 2 offering services.
No question about it. I mean, the love offering days, you know, it was literally, if you did well, you can get paid.
Totally.
Was the thing.
We're not about performance here until it comes to the offering.
No question.
Did you like today's speaker?
Right.
Let's bless him.
So then, so I'll never forget the first time I went to all-white church. And I didn't know what to do. It was an hour long. And then they were like, all right, have a good day. And I was like, where's everybody going? Is there intermission? They're like, no, we're going to do this again. I was like, what do you mean you're going to do it again? They're like, we have 2 services. I said, what? Why would you do it twice? Like, was it fake? Like is this real?
So
Like, it was just, I was in a completely different world. And then after high school, I went to a Word of Faith church, Gregory Dickow in Schaumburg, okay?
Come on now.
Can just preach the word. And it was the first time I went to a diverse church. It was the first time I saw black and white people and Hispanic people and Asian people like all worshiping at the exact same time. And I went, man, I think this is what heaven will look like. Then I went to a prosperity gospel church in college in Minnesota. And as I'm going to that church, my friends were like, you got to be careful at that church, bro. Be real careful. Prosperity gospel, be careful. I was like, dude, relax. Like, this guy seems like a nice guy. And that next week, a guy walks up to me, complete stranger. He goes, hey, man, the Lord told me to give you $100. I said, this is my favorite church.
Yeah, this is the best
That's
church
my
I've
pastor.
ever been to.
Don't mess with my pastor.
Those holy handshakes, man.
Yeah, dude, I was like, let's go for it. And so that next Sunday, they did a video celebrating their 1 millionth person giving their life to the Lord. Through their ministry. They had a guy on staff who was the evangelism pastor. He would literally walk the streets of Minneapolis and just talk to people about Jesus and win them to Christ. And they videoed him winning the 1 millionth person to the Lord. And I just thought, man, I love the church. Word of Faith, Prosperity Gospel, AME, AG, you name it. Like, I just love the church. And I saw how much the church made a difference in the lives of communities all around the world, particularly on Sunday. I woke up one day and thought, what if I could do that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? So I went to a Christian college and got a minor in Bible, and I got a business degree. And so I felt like my calling was to be fishers of men. And so I get to do that now. I get to speak in corporate America throughout the week, and I try to kill it. Tonight, I'm going to try and knock it out the park.
You're gonna.
And
you ever bring a Hammond B3 up there just at the corporate event?
No, I wish, right?
Just take 'em.
It would be awesome. But they all follow me afterwards. And when they do, they're going to get some sermon clips.
Yeah.
And so, man, it's really cool to be able to do both, you know? And I've been told so many times, you got to pick one. You either got to pick the church or you got to pick business. And I used to believe them until I just kept doing both. In fact, my speaker agency said, hey, you should probably delete some of your faith content. It will probably keep you from getting business. And then by God's grace, became their number 1 speaker in their bureau. And they said, actually, just do whatever God tells you to do. I think I'll keep doing that anyway. So.
I think I'm just going to choose obeying.
Yeah.
What I love even hearing some of that, because in so many ways, like, you are, you're a doctrine mutt, if you will. You've got all these different experiences, even in faith, and even learning all the different idiosyncrasies and cultural contexts. But all of that, when it comes into God's economy, is like not wasted. God uses all of that.
Totally.
And you never know that, like, when you're in it.
Totally.
But like looking back, you go, oh, God doesn't waste any season. When we surrender it over to him and we make ourselves available, like now today, stepping into all these different places. Tonight you're speaking to like engineers. I'm like, what would I say to engineers? Like literally that's what you already told me. I'm like, what would I have to say to them? For you, I just think from all the spaces and places that you've been, it's like, I know people and I can speak to the pain of people and I can help people grow with where they're at. I think when you and I first met, I'm going to say it's 14, 15 years ago. You were, I think at the time, this is when you were writing maybe Chasing Failure potentially, and you were like, weren't you trying out for the Lakers or something? Tell me that story again.
So when you and I met, now this is really going to jog your memory. I was coming here because I was planning a surprise wedding for my wife.
That was first.
That was first.
Okay,
so
there we go.
That was in Hollywood, Florida, and I needed a cover story as to why I kept coming here. I said, I'm going to go hang with Rich Wilkerson Jr.
This is so
She's
good.
like, you are? I go, yeah. She goes, I didn't know you guys were friends. I go, yeah, of course.
We go way back.
yeah. I said, Rendezvous, you got it. This young adult group, you got to check it. So I was coming multiple times because
you were Okay, tell the story. This is good.
So I was scouting the Weston Diplomat at the time, which is where we ended up getting married. So my wife tells a friend, I overhear them talking. She says, I think it would be cool to get engaged and married on the same day. I was like, what does that mean? That means I got to plan the wedding. I go, I wonder if that's even possible. So I started doing these scouting trips to go, can that be done? So for 2 years, I planned our wedding behind her back. And June 7th, 2013, I get down on one knee just down the street. And I said, will you marry me? She said, yes. I said, just kidding. Will you marry me today? And we opened up the lounge room ball there, and 85 of our friends were standing in there with the sign that said, today. We're all in a dress, hairstylist, makeup artist, everything that she would need to get engaged and married on the same day.
Bro.
So when that went viral, we ended up going on the Queen Latifah show where my wife surprised me with Kobe. And so Kobe comes on the screen and he's like, hey, Ryan. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm peeing on
You're
Queen
crying.
Latifah. Oh, bro, I'm like, what's going on? Yeah, it's like this mind blown. And he says, hey, just inviting you out to Los Angeles. Come hang out with me in the Lakers. You pick the game. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I picked a game that was like, I don't know, probably like 3 months from that recording. So I had 3 months to prepare to meet the Mamba. You know what I'm saying? So I'm practicing in the shower. I'm like, what do I wear? Like, am I wearing a purple jersey, gold jersey? Do I ask for an like, this is like, I meet a lot of professional athletes in today's day and age. But Kobe is different.
No, he's different.
It's like meeting Tiger Woods. It's like there's an upper echelon of athletes, and he's in it. And so, man, I was like, man, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Like, do I tell him I'm a pastor? Do I tell him I'm a motivational speaker? Do I tell him I'm a filmmaker? I'm just like, dude, he lives in Hollywood. Everyone's a filmmaker. He doesn't need a motivational speaker. He's signed with Nike. Like, he's fine,
He's his own motivational speaker.
Pretty much.
You ever see that doc where he's mic'd up? Of course, you've probably seen it.
Of course. Like,
he's literally coaching the team.
Dude,
I'm like, this is Lenny Wilkins, man. This is player.
He's next level. Just
truly, right? Like,
oh, dude, his mentality. I mean, I get to work with professional athletes now. His mentality will stand the test of time.
You ever see it again anywhere? Like inklings of I guess I'm putting you on the spot there. I shouldn't say that because you work with a lot of athletes, but it's a different thing.
It's different. It's different now. I would say the biggest difference is money changed all sports.
Yep.
And so now it's more about the bag. I mean, it's still competitive. Don't get me wrong, but guys like MJ and Kobe,
we might not get to see that again.
They never even really talked about their money. It was all about the game. That was it.
You know what's something I've never gotten to ever process probably aloud? In January of 2020, Kobe passed.
Man.
And it was a cultural moment, but I often have thought, and I've never gotten to speak about this anywhere, if COVID hadn't happened, it's almost like I never felt like we got to truly mourn him appropriately. I mean, NBA was canceled that year. Like,
yeah.
Not to say that like he was forgotten about, but it was a little bit strange. I have a friend who is like the biggest Kobe fan ever. That that day that happened, he couldn't make it to church that night. He was, quite frankly, like laying down in a puddle of tears. Never got to meet him. He's in sports as well. And it just, Kobe Bryant was so much more than a basketball player. If you study anything about him, the way that he thought, his methodology, his discipline. We're doing right now with our staff, Good to Great. And today's topic this morning, we all went through a culture of discipline. And as I'm talking to you right now, it's like, yeah, I think Kobe had that discipline, discipline, thought, discipline, action.
No question.
What about, have you ever thought about that in terms of how he passed away in January and then COVID happened? It's almost like we were also on to that COVID moment. Of course, there was a cultural world.
So much was happening.
Right?
So we were moving from headline to headline. We were consumed with fear because it was like, we're not going to die from this. And then somebody died.
Yep.
And you're like, wait a minute. Like, I was just with this person.
Yep.
And then in 10 days, they're not here. So you're like, wait, this thing is, So I think we were just all overwhelmed with, Chadwick Boseman died.
Yeah.
Like a couple months later, it was, so yeah.
These are generational icons.
Oh, dude. I mean, it just, you didn't have enough time in the day to process everything and really, really think through everything. But
there was a study one time I heard about, it was really, really fascinating. I'll probably mess up the details because I'm good at that, but you'll get the gist of it. It was the idea of Vietnam soldiers versus World War II soldiers, that when the men from World War II came home, they came back after watching terrible, terrible things take place. Of course, you can only imagine what it was like to be on Normandy Beach, to watch this amount of people just be slaughtered in front of you. But when they came home, out of that came the boomers. Like, that generation came, and with it, America prospered. There was growth. There was industry. We profited. There was blessing. But if you compare it to Vietnam, I mean, this is when we started to go into like the opium, epidemic and addiction and all of this types of PTSD on another level.
Sure.
And there was a writer that spoke about it and said the big difference was the men from World War II, when they came home, they had to ride boats home, and it took them weeks. And they were sitting with other survivors. And what do you do when you're sitting there on a boat for weeks on end? You talk about it, and you cry, and you grieve, and you process, and you come back out of that healed. Whereas in Vietnam, they flew back on airplanes. They left the jungles. They were on their living room floors with their wives the next day. Unspoken, not talked about it, and the pain begins to fester. And I just wonder at times, sometimes when I think back on 2020 with so many people of what they went through, if there's not a place to talk, if there's not a place to find some shared suffering.
Oh my goodness.
What does that create on the other end?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even know how we're in all this right now, but it's interesting just because you just said Chadwick Boseman. It's like, yeah, man, like that guy means a lot to a lot of people. And it's just sort of in the headlines. I'm not trying to, for one second, underestimate their impact, but Kobe's just one of those kind of people. It's like, oh yeah, like Kobe passed away in January, but now it's March and now it's June.
You bring up an interesting subject. I'm curious your thoughts on this too. Do you think that people have healthy places to grieve and process? It's like, you got 4 kids. You got a pretty large operation. Like you don't have a whole lot of idle time.
Yeah.
What do you think is the healthiest place to process for people? I had to get a spiritual director a year ago just to. I woke up one day, Rich, and I realized, and we were talking offline about this, but my mentor and pastor passed away during COVID.
Yeah. Of COVID. And the day after he passed, my wife asked me, how are you feeling right now? And I said to her, I'm not feeling right now. I'm so numb. And in fact, I don't know if I'm going to feel this for another couple of years. And about a year and a half ago, I woke up and I felt a gaping hole. I felt a loneliness. I felt a moment in my life where I had an all-time high of outputs and an all-time low of inputs. And no crisis was happening. I could just feel it. Just feel like something was off. And I was like, I gotta do something different. So I started seeing a spiritual director, and
My spiritual director, our first session, cried 3 times for me.
Whew.
She cried 3 times for me. And I thought in that moment, nobody cries for me. If you are successful and you have any sort of public recognition of that, nobody cries for you. And so to have a place, like a safe space to just like not be on and grieve and process, I had to find something. But honestly, I was guessing. I wasn't saying, hey, this is what everybody should do, but I'm curious. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you're spot on. I think what you're saying is really self-aware and mature. I love even thinking about like just Judaism. What's that story where Jesus shows up and that little girl has passed away and he comes in and what does he do? He clears the mourners out of the house. Because in Judaism, when someone would pass away, everyone would come together and they would just cry. They would actually mourn because there's actually a process. He says get out because he's about to heal her. And it's like, there's no reason to mourn because I'm here.
Sure.
But that doesn't negate the fact that we need spots and moments to cry. And you just said it. It's like you get to certain places in leadership where you're carrying so much that if you're not intentional about putting the right people around you, then what becomes the dangerous thing is our speed. It's like that old passage, be still and know that I'm God. A lot of us don't know God because we just won't get still because being still seems so unfruitful. It seems like it's not progress. It seems like it's not, productive. And I think many times it's like, we don't have a problem hearing from God. We have a speed problem. It's not that God has a speaking problem. It's that we move so quick. And so I think you're so wise for that, but it's a reminder for me. It's why I talk to a therapist, even when I don't feel like talking to him. And most of the time, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't feel like talking to her. Most of the time I'm like, dude, this is inconvenient. But every time I create margin and space to actually process, I discover that there's things that are beneath the surface. There's a great book, I think it's called The Body Keeps Score.
Yes.
And that's what you're speaking about, right? Like we can intellectually and we can willpower through moments, but your body will carry the trauma, will carry the moment, and it doesn't forget it. And so if you're not finding systematically ways to program that, to release, that's why I think crying is, you hear a lot of guys like, oh, I don't cry or I haven't cried forever. I'm like, I don't think that's something to brag about.
No.
I think that tears actually have the ability to release. It's the language of the soul. Like tears speak. Tears can communicate things that, you are an unbelievably articulate communicator. Honestly, the way that we're going to talk about this today, you take very complicated things and your ability to put that in a soundbite that I can carry and use is such a gift. But man, there's some things that don't make any sense. And there are some moments that we go through that there is no word for it, but a tear being released is saying a whole lot.
Wow.
That's what I think about. I love the fact that you have a spiritual advisor. It's powerful. And maybe someone's listening right now and they too will at least find a friend and open up, at least
something,
create a safe spot just to grieve sometimes.
Wow. Dude, I learned so much from you. I could ask you questions.
Whatever.
I can flip this real fast.
I cut you off though. Kobe said, come out. Did you get to meet him?
Come out. Kobe says, come out. And as I'm heading out there, I'm thinking, the only way that me and Kobe are going to have an engaging conversation is if I'm in the NBA. Now, most people are like, did you hoop? Like, what was the situation? So I went to North Central University in Minneapolis.
Know all about it.
And the years I played, I say we're D3-ish. Okay, like. And it's like, you got Division I, Division II, Division III, and then like our Division III status was pending the years that I played. So we were in the NCCAA Division II of that. And so I like to say amongst Christians, I'm very good at basketball. Okay, so I was an NCCAA All-American.
Let's go.
So dude, when I graduated college, I did not pursue basketball. I pursued professional development. And so, but I would always go to games and I would be like, I could do that. But how do you know unless you actually try? And so, dude, I started getting back in All-American D3-ish church league MVP shape and was feeling great. And then one of my buddies gets cut from the Chicago Bulls and I'm 6'3". 200 pounds. He's 6'5", 245. So it was a clear gap. We started playing one-on-one in Dallas. He starts beating me by an incredible margin every single time. And I thought, if the Chicago Bulls just cut this guy, the Lakers, Kobe, what are we doing here? It's like, dude, you're gonna fail. Shut this thing down. Go to Los Angeles and just be normal. Take a picture and call it a day. But then I thought, man, how often are we talking ourselves out of being brave? Like, the word encourage means to put courage inside of somebody else. In Greek, it actually means to come alongside somebody and call them forward. In other words, I refuse to let you shrink back. And so I'm like, so then why am I shrinking back? So I thought, so what if you fail? I'm sure there's a lesson there. So I started a documentary called Chasing Failure, where I asked myself the question, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? And when I answered that question, I said, well, I'd be in the NBA. So when I met Kobe, that's what we talked about. And he's like, do it. And I'm like, oh, I mean, you're telling me to do, you're supposed to tell me how hard it is. He's like, nah, dude, I'm with Nike, just do it. And so then I had to go figure out how to get an NBA workout. And so I started emailing.
I didn't know you told Kobe this. Like, tell me what that exchange was like. Hey, man, this is what I'm thinking about. Like,
oh yeah, dude. Kobe,
come on, give us some of this.
Kobe was.
This is too good.
Kobe was.
Where's this at? This is like after the game, before the game. This is like.
Dude, me and my wife are sitting at the Lakers game. The Queen Latifah show says, hey, cameras, everything. They're gonna come, to a VIP room. Here's your seat. So we're sitting there watching the game. Kobe's hurt, so he's just sitting on the bench. And so I'm like, oh my God.
Still leading somehow.
Yeah, somehow, some way, right? Then all of a sudden, some 6'10" security guard, had to be 350, linebacker, just walks over and goes, you, come with me. I went, babe, we got to go. I'm like, I don't know why, but we have to do whatever this guy tells us. He throws us in this random room. I just by the locker room. And I'm like, I guess this is like a VIP room in what was then Staples Center. And I was like, where's Queen Latifah's people? Where's the PR people? Where are the camera people? And then Kobe walks in the room. And it was like it was a full-on order. He was like, Ryan, what's up, man? I was like, what's up, man? you're trying to meet him where
we're
he's
not worthy. We're not worthy. It's
you're just like, this is Kobe Bryant. And he was he was so engaging. You want to know what impressed me the most?
Yeah.
Is Make-A-Wish kids ended up coming in there about 10 minutes later, and he was fully on for them. And I thought, he's got to do what we see.
Yep.
On the court.
Preach.
Then he's got to face the media 100 times a year.
Yep.
Win or lose.
I'm afraid of Twitter comments.
Think about that. And then he has to put all of that aside, win, lose, trade talks, you name it, and just show up for a kid.
Be someone's hero.
100 times a year. And I thought, that actually is what impressed me more than all of the accolades that everybody sees. You don't think about that. You don't think about all of the things that he has to do when he's not in the mood. It's like, we're so moody. You know what I mean?
I think a lot about these days about being like a coach or being an athlete. Like, you got into it to play basketball, or you got into it to you love the game to coach. You did not ever consider the fact that you have to be really good at PR. You have to answer questions and deal with criticism publicly and answer back by being kind. Like sometimes pastors this is the hardest job in the world. And don't get me wrong, I'm in it. It's a difficult one. I don't know. Some pastors are gonna stop listening.
No,
I don't know if my job's harder than what Nick Saban had to do. I just don't know.
Sure,
it's just,
sure.
let's at least have some humility here. There's some other high pressure things here. I don't want to get done with my sermon that wasn't very good.
Yes.
Face the whole congregation, take questions as to why I took that point. Why'd you pause there? How come you didn't make the invitation there? You left out that. I would flip out. I'm like, get out of here. You can't do that though.
No question, man.
So Kobe's back there and you guys start talking. You're like, hey, I'm thinking about giving this a go. I played over it. You ever heard of North Central? Somebody's at Bible College there in Minneapolis, Kobe. You heard of it?
Yeah.
I was pretty good. I started.
Yeah. He was just like, dude, go for it. You only live once.
So what did you do? You left there like, I'm going to try this.
Yeah. And
And in your mind was, I'm actually going to make it, or your mind was, I'm going to actually try. Is that one and the same, or like, does the outcome not matter? Like,
it's the middle.
Okay.
I am always going to compete. I'm just uber competitive.
Yep.
I would play LeBron right now, knowing I would lose. I don't care. It's like, I get the ball back. You got to stop me too.
Yep.
Like, that's just my mindset. So, and again, here's the deal. You can't just go do an NBA workout.
Right.
Like, you don't call them, they call you. You know, it's like, you got to go.
They're pretty busy.
Yeah, like it's reserved for the top 450 basketball players.
God bless the
in
Make-A-Wish
world.
program. They're not creating this as one of their opportunities. You know, like you don't get a tryout.
No question.
Yeah.
So what I did is I just started emailing all of the PR teams for the different NBA teams. I just started with the Celtics, and I said, "Hey, dear Celtics, you've got fans all across the city of Boston that are afraid to fail. I don't think they should be. In fact, I think you and I could pull their dreams off the shelf together. Imagine if you believed in this message enough that you would give a complete stranger an opportunity to work out for your basketball team. I'll probably fail, but what if I don't? There's only one way for you and I to find out, and that's for you to let me try. I'm 6'3", 200 pounds, and looking for failure. Sincerely, Ryan Leak." I hit send and pretended like it didn't happen. The Boston Celtics email me back 30 minutes later. They say, "Hey, Ryan, this is a beautiful story. It's just not for us. Best of luck in your future endeavors." I'm like, you serious? Like, I can't believe like they would reject me. And I was like, Ryan, it's a dumb idea. Like, dude, this is the NBA. What are we talking about?
Dude,
like, you really
this.
think that like
I love this.
an NBA team's going to give a
remember
workout to a complete stranger from a convincing email? Like, this is not how the NBA works. But then I thought, did the Celtics just email me back? Like, dude, the Boston Celtics just emailed me. Like, this is awesome. So I'm going to do a documentary about being told no by all 30 NBA teams, and it's going to be awesome. 5th email goes out to the Phoenix Suns on a Friday. Dude, Friday afternoon, I get a phone call.
AC Green.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, right. So
Dan Marley.
I see this Arizona area code, and I'm like, "Hello, this is Ryan." She's like, "Yeah, this is Julie with the Phoenix Suns." And I was like, "What's up, Julie?" You know, like, "Hey, Julie, what's up?" She said, "Hey, we got your email. We love this idea. Come on Monday."
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, "This Monday?"
No, I'm working out right now.
Yeah,
Give me 2 more weeks.
And I'm like, and she said, "Yeah, this Monday, bring your camera crew." I'm like, "Camera crew? I don't have a camera." "Yes, of course, Julie. Yeah, I got me and my camera crew will be there on Monday." I did not have no camera crew. I had a homie from the church named Chuck. I said, "Hey man, let me holler at you for a second. We gotta go to Phoenix right now." He's like, "For what?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't have time to explain to you my email situation, but trust me, we're gonna have a story to tell." So then we go to one of our mutual friends who was my pastor at the time, and I'm the young adults director at the church. I said, "Hey man, I'm not.
I need a sabbatical.
I'm not gonna be at the executive team meeting on Tuesday." He's like, "Why not?"
Bro, this is way
I
better
said,
than I remember
"Man,
it.
I said, man, I don't talk about this stuff a lot. You know, sometimes I'm just kind of on in my own creative world, just trying stuff." And I just said, "Man, I'm going to Phoenix. I'm gonna be playing basketball there." He's like, "So you're taking like vacation time and just go play basketball in Phoenix?" I go, "Dude, it's a long story. I didn't tell you about it. It's about failure. It's a project. Like, you know, who wants to fail? Apparently I do, you know, seeing what's in me." So I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna try out for the Phoenix Suns on Monday and Tuesday." He was like, "My young adults director is trying out for the Phoenix Suns on Monday and Tuesday." I was like, I mean, that's what Julie said on the phone. You know, I got to go find out and see if she's a liar. Like, I mean, I got to go, you know? And he goes, "Yeah, okay, Ryan, but what happens if you make the team?" And I said, "Well, then I'm going to quit, duh. What do you think I'm going to do?"
Totally, man.
You think I'm just called to young adults here? I'm like, I don't care how called I am. I'll be back. I can Zoom now. You know, I'm going to the NBA, dude. So I said, "Don't worry, I'll fail. I'll be back on Wednesday." So dude, I fly out to Phoenix and had an NBA workout. And, dude, it was one of the greatest days of my life because the fear of failure fell off of my life. Something happened in Phoenix that I don't think could have happened in Dallas. And so now, dude, I'm just not afraid to try anything. I'm not afraid to get ghosted. I'm not afraid to pitch to the craziest things. I could tell you story after story. I could tell you projects that we're pitching right now that would blow people's minds. You're like, who do you think you are? You're like, I'm just not afraid to be who I am. There's a big difference there, man. So I just, I failed, and what I write about in my book, Chasing Failure, is that chasing failure took me further than chasing success ever did. It put me on an NBA practice court. I'd played on a lot of great courts up until that point, but none of them were NBA practice courts. I didn't get there until I was willing to send a scary email. Julie from the Phoenix Suns, I'm lacing up my shoes to get ready for this workout, and she starts laughing. And I was like, what's so funny, Julie? She goes, we would never do this in a million years. And I was like, okay, so like, why'd you do it? She goes, I have no idea. I went, did you know you have the gift of encouragement, Julie?
Oh my gosh.
Like, what am I supposed to do with that? And then she said something I will never forget. She said, Ryan, your email came on the right day at the right time.
Wow.
That's why I do what I do now, man. I tell people to do crazy stuff all the time. They're like, Ryan, why would I do that? I go, it probably won't work, but who knows? What if it's your day? What if it's your time? You'll never know unless you shoot your shot. So now getting to work with NBA teams and NFL teams, it's like so surreal, because you're like, this all started with one scary email, and now chasing failure continues to take me places I would have never.
I love that you wrote about that, and I think it's one of those underestimated things that, like, anything good, like truly good in my life, or anything that maybe someone admires in my life, has always come on the other side of fear. Like, I think all of like the things that God's called us to, all those beautiful things. It's like, Don Shree and I, we have this little phrase. We've been saying it since we were dating back in college. It's like, if one of us says that scares us, it's like, oh, shouldn't have said that. Because now you have to do it. It's almost like the ping. And maybe even someone who's like potentially listening right now, that thing that you're afraid of is so often the very thing that God's calling you towards, to run to. In your experience, even dealing with like just high-level leaders and coaching them, how does the fear change as they grow? Like, do you still think that these, like, I think sometimes people look at people and they go, oh, they must not be afraid. What's been your experience with high-level leaders talking to them? Like, what are they still afraid as they're doing it, or they've caught that revelation?
They're scared to death.
Yeah.
Like that's where, I think there's been a line in the sand often with Christians and the marketplace, the sacred and the secular, where people feel like, I don't know where my faith fits in my career. You're not allowed to talk about religion. You're not, and I've pushed back on that a little bit, because the more and more I do what I do, when people go, man, how are you calm? How are you, like, you just talk to that billionaire and you didn't flinch, you just text this guy, or you just, what is that? I said, well, it's faith. I feel like God went before me. So if God went before me, it's one thing to believe that God is for you, but to believe that God is already sitting in the room that you're going to be in years from now, well, that gives you a little bit of peace of just going, hey, God.
Yeah, very good.
I'm going to be okay. And so, man, I think I see it everywhere. There's no, I don't know that I've met a leader that's doing anything at a high level that isn't facing some level of fears. And dude, in the corporate space, especially for publicly traded companies.
Jeez.
I mean, you talk about a Nick Saban, you talk about a professional athletes whose criticism is very visible. If the stock price is down for any major company, oh, the heat's there. That CEO is got so many fears of what the market will do, or will they lose their job, and
time's ticking.
Oh yeah, it's no joke, man.
When you think about your life right now,
and
it's a little personal.
Yeah,
it's one thing to go and chase failure and be in a spot where, like, all right, I'm gonna put myself through this test, and the outcome, if I don't make the Suns, I've still got a future. You know what I mean? But like, I am going to test myself.
Yeah.
But like, you're very successful today, and you're only becoming more successful.
Yeah.
What would you say today is an area that you're like, man, I'm afraid of this thing right now? Because what I'm kind of contrasting a little bit is that at one point of our life, it's like, I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
Maybe the next season of life is like, well, how do I keep succeeding? You know, like people always teach you how to respond to failure. They don't always teach you how to respond to success.
No question about it.
Is there something right now that you could share? Like, bro, this right now is a thing that I'm afraid of, but I'm still facing it. Like tonight, I don't know if you're afraid to speak tonight. It kind of seems like, nah, I've done this dance before.
Sure.
I'm going there to give something. I've got something to give. But I imagine there's something in your life right now that you're tempting, dreaming about, or you're like going, I'm trying to push the throttle here a little bit, but I am scared, Rich.
Man, I mean, how much time you got? I mean, there's, as weird as it sounds, I'm scared of opportunity because I used to have a theology that, man, whatever God brings you, you just steward that well. Well, then you have so much that you can't say yes to everything.
Yeah, very good.
And so you're like, okay, I learned that lesson the harsh way of going, no, I actually have to put up guardrails to figure out what I do say yes to and what I say no to. And I'm learning that a lot of my yeses have a bunch of hidden other yeses that come with it that I didn't often see historically. So I do fear opportunity because you're like, what will that cost my family in the future? What will, I mean, dude, hanging with guys like John Maxwell who are internationally influential. He hangs out with world leaders that literally shift geopolitics.
Yep.
You know, it is, you get invited to the big boy table and you're like, am I a big boy now? They're like, yeah, no, we want you in the room. You're like, oh, can I wear Air Force Ones?
I like that.
You're like, it's a whole different level. So that is, I mean, obviously the title of this podcast, but dude, it's a whole nother level of maturity that those are things I pray for. In my quiet time, I'm going, Lord, would you just give me character and discernment and wisdom and maturity to handle whatever is coming?
Yep.
Because I literally don't know day to day what is coming. And I have some upcoming opportunities that are what we call spin opportunities, which means I could go into a room and speak to one company, Fortune 100 company, and let's say it's their top leaders, 500 leaders in a room. You go in and speak. Or I could speak at an event where it's 500 CEOs of the top companies in the world. So now you are stewarding a whole different level of influence. You go, oh, it's basically the same talk. It's not the same talk. It carries so much more weight. And so, you know, every book that you write, there's a you're stewarding God's influence that He's given you, and I fear that I'm sometimes messing it up, or, you know, did I say yes to this and I was supposed to say no, and did we give too much, you know, with the right heart, but maybe we just didn't think it through, or, you know, like there's lots of fears there that we're always, my wife and I are always just navigating and praying to say, Lord, would you just continue to lead us and guide us?
I couldn't agree more. I believe on our journey of growth, it's like you don't stop growing.
Never.
And a big mark of a season of life of growing is not just I need an opportunity. Now it's do I have the right opportunities? Because for me, just because I can do something, there it is, doesn't mean that I should.
Yeah.
And totally. I don't mind, this is what I said the other day, I don't mind spending time. I do not mind spending time. I cannot afford to waste time.
No question about it.
I just, at 41, I just can't waste the time that I wasted at 21.
Yeah.
And I just need to know this is the thing that God's called me to. This is the area that He's led me into.
Yes.
I don't have an opportunity problem. Often I have a discernment problem.
No
and it's
question.
like, Lord, which thing am I supposed to do? Which door am I supposed to walk through? I think everyone's always praying for open doors. I'm like, Lord, I think the older you get, the more mature. It's like, Lord, if it's not your will, I always pray at the end of our services. I do a simple like blessing, we always do. It's like, it's always them. Lord, bless us in our labor and our leisure. God, open up doors this week that we're supposed to walk through. And I always say this, but God, please close doors that we should not walk through, because I'm not always smart enough. So sometimes like these days, we're in a building project. I'm like, Lord, if we're not supposed to build this building, shut this down. Make it so clear that we're not supposed to launch that location or start this service, because I'll just drive. I'll just move. I've got that in my DNA a little bit. So I need the Lord sometimes to come and just slap me in the face and say, dude, don't walk through that door. Like, let me shut it down. I don't want my desire. I want your will. Turns out his will is better. But this idea that like, you're not going to arrive at something and it's like, oh, we're done.
No.
You keep growing. You keep leveling up. And I love the projects that you've written on, and I love the way that you're coaching people. Yeah. Even in that project, as you talk about like leveling up in like leadership. Yeah. When you're starting with somebody, like what is like even that phrase for you? Like, I know it's different for everyone where they're at, but what are some like maybe fundamental things we can talk about when we're trying to like level up our leadership?
Well, I think it's identifying where you've settled. I think a lot of people just go, this is who I am.
Very good.
This is how I lead.
Very good.
They've accepted their personality. Typically around 40, 50 is where they feel like they're...
Level me up today, brother. Rich, you got to pay me for this.
You're going to get an invoice. There's around that 40, 50 age is where people just go...
It's who I am.
This is my personality, my leadership, my habits are crock-potted into what they are. So it is what it is. But if you are committed to growing, you have to be committed to changing. And everybody wants to grow. Not everybody wants to change.
Yeah, preach.
And there is a massive difference there. And so, let's say we were talking about communication. Once you've been communicating, preaching a certain way for a long time, and a staff member or a member of the church says, "Hey, have you thought about?" You're like,
"I do this, man.
This is what I do." It's like, well, you should actually think about that. Who knows if that change isn't the change that could usher in a whole different kind of way of communicating, and who knows if you don't open yourself up to being able to reach more people because you made a small adjustment. You and I, we've got a few friends that will go 55, 60, 65 minutes preaching, and somebody could say, "Hey, maybe you should go 40. What? It's like, well, it's just feedback. And are you good at receiving that feedback, or are you like, no, I'm settled. These are my non-negotiables. You're like, well, if it's a non-negotiable, well, then you're not going to grow in that area because you've made it a non-negotiable. So usually starting with people's like, hey, what are your frameworks and your sacred cows? We don't talk about that. We don't touch that. Those are usually the things that I go, we should talk about that.
If you've been down too long, stand up and praise the Lord. Wake up the lion inside of your lungs.
Do you know the point of the church is to be an embassy of heaven? What we need are snippets of heaven on earth.
The God of the universe calls you a friend. You're a friend of the Most High God.
The blood of Jesus is a red line through your fear. Fear, gone. Shame, gone. Insecurity, gone. My past is gone.
There is an eternity that awaits all of us. That you were born to live.
Let's talk about communication for a second, because I really do appreciate and admire the way that you communicate. Even that right there, it's funny you brought that exact point up, because I literally, the last 3 weeks in particular, been having a conversation with a couple of our guys, and I'm just like, bro, I cannot go more than 42 minutes. This is ridiculous. And I quite frankly know the truth to be that when I am more prepared and when I've actually hammered down exactly where I want to be at, that's a much sweeter spot for me, 42 minutes versus 52 minutes. Doesn't mean that anything I've ever gone 52 minutes wasn't good. There it goes, the sacred cow. But it is hard because you do get into these pathways and habits of doing something, and it's hard to change. I had a friend the other day, it's like, we were talking about discipline. It's like, oh man, habits are hard. It's like, no. Habits aren't hard. Discipline is hard.
Yeah.
Once you become a disciplined person, and once you've set a habit, or the other way, habits are easy. Discipline, is like once you set the habits, it's there.
Sure.
And so whatever these habits that we kind of form, it's like, can I be a disciplined person? And I think even what you're saying is like, you're disciplined enough to go, I want feedback. A lot of people, me included, I don't always love getting feedback. It's like, this thing is me.
You want it until you get it.
Yeah, you want it until you get it. Like even for you, like, did you learn that at a young age that you like? I feel like you like these things are not precious to you, or that you're able to adapt and adjust. Or maybe I'm interpreting that wrong a little bit.
No,
about you.
No, I think you hit it right on, hit the nail on the head on that. I hold communication very tightly, but I'm obsessed with it. But I hold it very loosely, I should say. Like it's one of those things where if you got a perspective on it that could make it better, why wouldn't I want to make it better? Like why would I? If my communication is so much about me, then that's ego. But if my communication is about helping the audience do something, and give them hope, give them healing, help their marriage, help them go to work and think about their faith in a completely different way. Any of those things, well then, man, I should actually be open to as much feedback as possible. The number one thing that changed the way I communicate forever.
Tell me.
I was at a church where all of the communicators were profoundly studied Greek and Hebrew, from start to finish, blowing your mind with historical context of Jewish idioms that you've never heard in your life, and so that kind of became the bar,
the target,
if you will.
The bar, yeah.
And so I was in charge of our Wednesday nights, and I remember getting up on a Wednesday night, and I had wrote, I'm telling you, an Old Testament dissertation that was, Hebrewed out the wazoo. I was about to blow people's minds, And I realized as I was getting on the stage, I wrote it for the staff. I wasn't even writing for the people anymore. I was writing to impress our pastoral staff. And it was the summer, and you know how churches go in the summer. None of them were there. And so I look at the front row and it's empty. It was Wednesday night, and I was like, huh. And then I look up, and there was this guy that I played basketball with for years named Mo, recovering alcoholic, old military veteran. I've been inviting him to church for forever. He steps from behind the camera, and he waves, and then goes back behind the camera. First time he's ever in church. And I look down at my notes, and I look down at the front row, and I just had this epiphany, changed my life. I just thought, why don't you just help Mo? Like Mo is sitting on the back row behind the camera. Just help Mo. And from that day forward, I just started talking different. When I walk into any church, any building, I think, who's in the back of the room? That's my Mo. If I can help Mo, I'll be fine. So that's when things really started to simplify for me. I really started to, I study scripture enough in my own personal devotion that's just kind of standard. I grew up in it. I just, I love the word, studying the word on the way here just for fun. Like I just love the Bible. I love Jesus. You know, those things, I wouldn't even say are disciplines for me anymore. I would say that's just part of my lifestyle. But studying people, studying counties, I found myself today on the plane studying Miami who's the largest employer in all of Miami? Like I just started like looking up.
Who is it, Royal Caribbean?
It is Miami-Dade County Public Schools, 33,000 members. And I started thinking, well, who leads that? This guy named Jose. I wonder how Jose's doing. I wonder what his challenges are. Like my mind starts thinking, man, if I was preaching in Miami today and Jose walks in the back, what would help him?
Very good.
And then I think, what would help him help his teachers?
Very good.
And then and if he decides to bring a teacher for the first time, what would help that teacher impact the student?
Whew.
So then by the time I'm preaching on Luke 15 and I'm, talking about the prodigal and being lost, and I started putting in all of my sermons a work section, because the other epiphany I had is most people in churches have jobs. And statistically speaking, you will spend 1/3 of your life at work.
Tell me about this. I like this. Keep going.
So if you're
a work section.
Yeah, so if you're going to spend 1/3 of your life at work, it's the place you feel like you have to hide your faith the most. The other third is in bed, by the way. You will spend more time at work than you will with your kids. Yet, the mantra has been, your family is your number one ministry, which is true, but it's not where you're going to spend most of your time. So I'm always trying to equip the believer to go to work. And so when I put a work section in,
so good, brother.
I'm going, hey, if you're the older son and you're at the party, but you're not at the party, that's going to have you going to work with an attitude and a mantra that says, y'all don't pay me enough to do all of that. Don't be an older son.
Very good.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
So I'm going to your job.
I love that.
Every single time I preach in some way, shape, or form.
I love that.
Because everybody's got a job. It's like, obviously there's some people that are unemployed, but for the most part, I'm always trying to give a nod to the stay-at-home moms, but what they do every day in the home. But I'm always going like, dude, how you show up at work, which is what you're going to do most of the time, I'm trying to equip that saint to show up in a powerful way at work. So that's what drives a lot of the content that I create, is because I'm like, I want to create content that believers can share at their job safely. They go, hey, man, you heard Ryan Leak? Man, dude, I love his stuff. This is great. And it's so funny now. Lost people don't know what churches really look like, especially like nice churches.
Right.
Their view of a church is what they see in a movie.
Yep.
Which is choir robes and a small church. So I've had several friends that'll go, man, dude, your video went viral in our office the other day. I said, it did? Well, could you show it to me? Church clip. They don't know, but I wrote it for that exact purpose. I wrote it in the sermon to say, hey, I have this in mind. I want a Christian leader to play this exact clip in their Tuesday executive meeting. And they do. All the time. But I planned it. Like I'm like, dude, I see my life as something God has given me an opportunity to communicate to all kinds of people in all sorts of different spaces. And so whether it's 30 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever the allotted amount of time
42 for me.
So whatever somebody's given me. So
sure, yeah.
I get a clock wherever I'm at.
Yep.
Man, I just try to add as much value as I possibly can. And so social media, which we could talk about that for hours, has been an interesting journey for me because
I love what you do on social media.
Well, man, dude, it was...
I love your clips.
I was off social media altogether. Like, I wasn't even active on it from like 2015 to 2018. And then I had a friend of mine. She's a worship leader in Ohio. We were at a church planting conference. Her and her husband, us were sitting around getting some food. She goes, why aren't you on social media? And I was like, it's toxic, and all people do is argue. And I just started going through the whole list. She goes, yeah, I hear you. She says, it's pretty dark out there, huh? I said, yeah. She goes,
she's baiting you.
Yeah, she goes, wouldn't it be nice if somebody could shine a light?
Yeah, come on.
She goes, Ryan, I'm be honest. She goes, you're one of our best voices, and yet you're not even in the game.
Mm.
And I said, and at the time, that was social media was about who you could take a picture with in your house or your car or whatever, your vacation. And that day, I said, all right, game on. I received that rebuke and I'm going to create content that adds value to people's lives every single day. And so
I heard Christine Kane one time say, don't preach to the front row.
Yeah.
Preach to the people.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you is like, I'm not seeking to be impressive.
No.
I'm truly seeking to be helpful. I think that's good for any communicator, certainly preachers. And we do need gentle rebukes, including me. Yeah. That this is not about sermonizing. This isn't about being impressive.
Sure.
This is about helping a guy named Mo. And I love learning different frameworks, and I love learning different processes of how people get to certain things. So even that's really helpful for me to think about. What do we get? 167 hours in the week. So let's say you sleep 8 hours a week. That's 56, and which we don't. But let's just say you did 56 hours.
Yeah.
Let's say you work somewhat of a job 9 to 5. That's 40 hours. But if you got drive time, if you actually worked somewhere hard, you're going to work 56 hours. There's this other 56 hours, if you put it into 3 buckets, that I always try to encourage people, like, you can work on your passion. There's other time there for you to work on those things. But I've never considered from a framework of week to week, like going, why am I not equipping someone better with language, with tools? How do my grandpa used to say, I'm not just trying to preach to people to get them to heaven. I'm just trying to preach to people's Thursdays. Like, I want this to still matter by Thursday. If I can take this word, this daily bread. For you, when you're writing, and now we're kind of going a little bit deep, but I think it's fun. There's someone on here that's going to care about this.
Sure.
You're a manuscript guy. You're writing out word for word. You don't waste your words when you speak and teach.
Yeah.
What can you say about that? Like, even helping someone, rather than just go, words matter, but like, how could you help a guy like me or someone out there who wants to communicate and say, I want to be more precise with my language, with my words?
So it depends on the church. So I was a teaching pastor at 5 large churches at the exact same time. So I was doing about 8 Sundays for 5 different churches with 5 different, completely different theologies, methods of doing church.
I love this.
And so I was, again, because And
you kind of like that challenge.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because, dude, I grew up AME, AG,
totally. No, I know.
Word of Faith. So I'm like, dude, I love the church.
Yeah,
like, if Jesus is
helpful.
preached, I'm gonna preach Jesus. And so, so every church is a little bit different. So I started teaching at this church called Eagle Brook Church. You familiar with Eagle Brook?
I'm not sure if I am.
So Eagle Brook Church is probably the 3rd largest church in America.
I should know it.
And they don't want anybody to know.
Yep.
So there's a reason why. That's why I asked, okay? Yep. Very, very low key, super, super sharp group of people, 13 locations, 32,000-ish people in Minnesota where I went to school. So I was a teaching pastor there for about 3 or 4 years. The very first weekend that I was going there to like kind of try out to see if we liked each other, they say, hey, can you send us a full manuscript? I'm like, I'll send you a full manuscript? Like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? And this is 2019. And so, but I'm like, I'm going to honor you, do the thing. I'm like, I'll send, you want a full manuscript? They say, yeah, our team reviews it.
Yeah.
Before Sunday. I'm like, review it? Like, what do you, I've heard from God.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Who are you to, And so
we want the plot.
Yeah, I was like, it just kind of.
Are going to be actors in this?
Like, it was just kind of weirded me out at first. And then, so there's a team of pastors that review it, and then they send you like a full email.
Wow.
Of feedback. And at first I was like, why? And so that was, but then I was like, actually, that was kind of helpful. So then you preach on Saturday, you do a Saturday service. And after the Saturday service, you do a debrief with about 7 people.
You're such a better man than me, bro. You are such a better man than me.
So 7 people, worship team, producer. And
my gosh.
And they literally
help me, Jesus,
give you feedback on, hey, this was funny. This one didn't really land.
Oh my gosh,
Ryan. And I remember preparing to go into
You're the most secure man I've ever met in my entire life. Give this man a raise. You are unbelievable.
So the art of receiving feedback I learned is if you do it with a pen and pad, you can control your facial expressions.
Okay.
So I just walk in, I go, hey, just tell me. And don't make eye contact, right? I'm just like, because because on one hand, you're like, I'm the best communicator in the room. Why are you? Who are you to, like, what are we doing here? You know? But, dude, it changed the game for me. It took me to another level as a communicator. They even said, hey, you said this line. And I can tell you the exact line it was the first weekend. They said, Ryan, on the whim, you said, if you give God your attention, he will give you his direction. And I said, yeah. They said, that should be a slide. People should be able to take a picture of that phrase. If you give God your attention, he will give you his direction. And I was like,
I thought you were going to tell me that's like theologically incorrect. I'm like, I love that phrase. Okay. And so at least they're coming and they're trying to level it up.
No question.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I go in on Sunday. The message it was good before. Now it's great.
Okay.
Because they've given me so many little tweaks for their context and their church. And it's not like theological swings. It's not like that. Yeah. It's these little phrases here or there that just make sure you connect with the audience. So Minneapolis is a big fishing and hunting crowd. I play basketball.
Yep.
You know, so they're like, hey.
I know Kobe.
Yeah, right, you know? So they're like, one time I put in a message, a baseball reference about a guy who failed and who was a Minnesota Twin. They said, in the feedback, before I ever got there that weekend, they said, well, our kicker just lost the game on Sunday. Use that story instead. Mm-hmm. And our church like really felt it. I went to school there. There was a lake called Lake Hiawatha, and I had all of these memories from that. So I had a story in there on that sermon. They said, you'll get canceled. I said, what? Why? They said, they changed the name of the lake. I said, why? They said, the Indian reservation, the Indian community was offended so it's not called that anymore. I went, thank you. So it actually shifted my whole, like, I'm always looking for feedback. So I go speak at Christ Fellowship, our friends, the Todds, as we like to call them, Todd and Julie Mullen.
The Todds.
And I'm speaking there for the first time a couple years ago. I send Todd my message, and he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm speaking at your church, you know. you have any feedback? He's like, why? Well, like, you know, you've prayed.
We trust you. Yeah.
Like, you know, like, what? I'm like, you know, you got 25,000 people here. You know, wouldn't you want to take a look and see what I'm going to say for you? He's like, I mean, I guess, not really. You know, he's like, I mean, sure, go for it. And then later I told him why. He's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, apparently that's, so Eaglebrook has created this incredible accountability system of just going, hey, before you get up and just say whatever you want to 30,000 people, maybe run it by somebody, which made me think, I'm like, how have I preached and communicated for so long without this? So now, even with my corporate clients, in the corporate world, it's very PowerPoint deck heavy. Like, people want to be able to take pictures of your main points. And so your deck communicates your level of professionalism and how sharp you are, and, you know, chart, data, that sort of thing. The first time I was speaking for the Mavericks, they did a week-long speaker series, and then they fired the guy halfway through. And they said, now I was doing executive coaching for him at the time, and they said, hey, Ryan, can you fill in for this guy? He sucked, and we know you'll do a great job. And I said, okay. I said, well, can you tell me why he sucked? They go, he didn't have a PowerPoint. Can you believe he didn't have a PowerPoint? I go, what kind of moron doesn't have a PowerPoint? And I ran home and like made a PowerPoint. I'm like, what are we doing right now? They're like, your PowerPoint was amazing.
Bro.
And so I'm just learning. So I don't have a,
that's funny.
This has to be my way.
Yep. And
if I spoke at VU, I'm not going to be like, hey, here's my PowerPoint. It's just like, hey, okay, you do side thirds. Okay, cool. And then we do side thirds. Some people are full teleprompter. Some people are
you're there to serve.
Bullet point. It's like, hey, what is the system in which you use? I spoke at Saddleback Church twice. One time they're like, hey, we do full teleprompter. You send us a manuscript, it'll be right there on the camera. I go, is that what Rick Warren does? If it works for Rick, it can work for me. I went there a second time. They go, hey, we don't do a teleprompter anymore. I said, okay. But I still, for me, it's like, dude, I'm going to call on God when I'm writing that manuscript. And dude, you can go left or right. Like, if you feel something, you can pivot. If I speak at our dear friends, Earl and Onika McClellan. If I speak at Shoreline, there's no teleprompter or anything like that, so I won't manuscript for that. So it just depends on the setting.
It comes back down to, I think, the heart of what you carry, which is going, hey, I'm going there to be helpful. I saw Tony Robbins the other day talking, they're like, what's your purpose? He's like, man, people get so lost. I have lots of purposes. I have lots of functions. But if I have to narrow it down, it's that I want to help. Like if there's a person in front of me, I want to help them. So I don't need to get lost in all the trappings of the language. It's like, that's what I'm doing. And when you're going there, you're going to serve. And I think too often we make it about ourselves versus about the people that we're going to add value to. It's just funny because we grew up in different contexts. I come from some deep Pentecostal roots. And I remember I got invited to speak at it's the Willow Creek, but now, what do they call it now? In Chicago. Global
Leadership Summit? Yeah.
Same thing. It's like months out. I'm on Zoom calls with multiple people like, hey, so we've been thinking about your manuscript, and I'm just like, I guess I'll just say whatever you say. They'd been watching messages and merging things, and it was a unique experience because I kind of grew up in this time where it's like, I mean, I've been around preachers where it's like, Rich, what are you speaking tonight? Can't tell you. Why? It's like, well, right now it's between me and God, and the enemy, he is not omniscient. But as soon as I speak it, he can hear it, and here comes the attacks. And so it's like, brother, I've heard it all. It's like I won't say a word until I get up on that pulpit because the enemy can't start fighting this word until he hears me say it. So I'm not letting you know beforehand.
Yeah.
What would you say is like maybe like the number one mistake that you see communicators make? Like, if you're going to go teach a class on communication and you're trying to, I got a little bit of time here, this is where is a good starting point.
I would say most communicators are trying to be experts on their content, but not experts on their people.
Very good.
And so
very good.
I think in the pastoral world, it would be like, do you smell like sheep? Did you hang out with anybody from your church? I know you prayed. Congratulations.
Yep.
I know you studied. You should. That's a part of the job. But who did you sit with that made this message come alive?
Very good.
Why are we talking about this? Why does this matter? What is the pain point that it brings up for somebody's 3 a.m. anxieties? What does this do for your high school teenage girl who is under more digital pressure than ever before in the history of the planet?
Very good.
Are you in tune with the room? I had a pastor who I went and spoke for, and then he said, hey man, if you ever get a chance, would you listen to my messages? And he goes, I just love you as a communicator. What would you say? I said, it was perfect, except I don't know that it connected to the people that are actually going to your church who are hurting. Like I said, I know this because you told me, but I said I would know it if you didn't tell me. You were on vacation before this message. You came from vacation to the pulpit. And so there's no relatability to be able to understand that audience. So tonight I'm speaking to 1,500 engineers. Now, it doesn't mean that I speak engineer, but I've studied them well enough to respect their craft and understand the way that they think and why it's hard to be social when you're an engineer and the personality profile that goes along with why you're good at engineering is the exact same skill that makes you awkward in social settings. And this whole event is designed for them to connect. They only do it once every 3 years. So they're saying, hey, Ryan, will you come in and help us have next level connections? So I've got to bring in an introvert to say, hey, can I walk you down the line? And oh, by the way, here's a PowerPoint slide with 5 questions that you can ask anybody over the next 3 days. So do I need to be an expert on my leveling up content? I'm an expert on you. Like I've studied you, the people, the company, your history. They were FM Global 3 years ago, and they dropped the global, but they're a global organization. So how do you not speak with so many American idioms that you lose your European crowd? All of these are different things of that I think the biggest mistake that some communicators can make is they go, I got to impress these people. It's like, no, I'm here to help you. So the reason I'm not nervous about tonight is because I believe it's going to help them.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's very relevant for where they're at. And also, I already sent it to their leadership team. And this particular leadership team said, hey, this one misses the mark. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. You were talking about connections. I just felt like my how to work with complicated people framework work best for this group. And they said, no, they'll be offended by that. What can we do to adjust? I said, well, I've got this leveling up framework, but that's about leadership. What if we combined it with not next level leadership, because most of these people in this room aren't leaders. I said, what if we could call it next level connections? They said, that's it. So it's not about, we got to talk about my book. Anytime I'm on a podcast, okay, are you bringing your book? I'm like,
how did that make you feel when they said, we don't think that one's going to hit the target? That you're grateful for that? Or does that hit your ego in any which way? Or
I mean, it's hard because you thought you had it, but then you find out that you didn't.
And you're grateful you got that feedback before you went in front of 1,500 people.
And that's the thing. Like that, because again, the Eagle Brook story had me like, hey, you don't. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like, well, wouldn't you want some feedback beforehand? Imagine me coming to VU and speaking, and then afterwards you're like, hey, bro, thanks for coming. Man, can we talk about second service? You kind of went on a tangent about politics. I didn't know. You're like,
totally.
It's a torpedo. You're like, dude, what are you doing?
Yep.
Versus being able to just at least have an outline, a view of, I just spoke for Shoreline a couple of weeks ago, and I sent my whole message to Earl, and Earl doesn't manuscript. Earl doesn't do anything. Earl McClellan, for those of you that don't know Earl McClellan,
finds the river and jumps in.
Earl just hears from God and just allows God to just speak.
Yeah, he's a conduit.
It's just like what I was sitting next to Onika in the service the other day. I go, when does he practice it in the shower? Like how is like it just
that guy can go on a run,
dude.
That guy's got a motor.
It's amazing.
He was here a couple months ago. I'm like, I just videoed it, sent to all of our friends. I was like, bro, you've never seen somebody light themselves on fire like this. This was a 7-minute explosion.
That's who he is.
I couldn't sit down for 3 weeks straight and write all those words out. This guy can just download. It's different gifts. But
it is. And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, some people are no notes good. I'm not.
I love what you were saying to me earlier, though, but like you will get on the phone.
Yes.
Because I think this is a really cool thing because pain points is a big word.
Yes.
And even today, as we're listening, I think that when I hear you speak in different settings, you're always somehow, whether you're describing it, you're giving a problem, but then you're giving a solution.
Yeah.
But some of this stuff isn't just like, I think you are gifted at it. I think you do have skills that you've sharpened towards it, but you're very, very aware as I'm listening to you talk, going, I'm trying to figure out where they're hurting. I'm trying to figure out, you're talking about researching a dude in Miami that you've never met, probably won't meet. You're like, I wonder what his challenges would be. Could I help those challenges?
Absolutely.
So before you go somewhere to speak at corporate size, you're on the team with their leadership team and you have some questions that you're asking.
Oh yeah.
Give me some of those questions because I think some of that stuff would help the pastors that are listening.
Sure.
Even for me right now, I'm like, I want to write these down and be like, yeah, I want to come into Sunday thinking that way more.
Totally. First question I always ask is who's in the room and what do they do every day? I am there to add value to what they do every day. So even if you're walking into a church and you're going, who are these people and what do they do every day? It's what I'm saying about the scripture and faith in Jesus impacting what they do every day. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do?
That's great.
Grocery stores, gyms, how you behave in all of these places. You are an ambassador of Christ. And so if I'm here to equip saints, I want to think, who's in the room and what do they do every day? The second question is, what are their biggest challenges? What are their biggest hurdles, and how can I add value to those things? And when you hear those things, it actually will steer your content because you're going, man, I don't want to have this, dissertation that just blows your mind that actually solves a problem you don't have. So it's you want to make sure that that this connects somehow, some way. Another question is, what's a mindset or behavior shift you would like to see with your audience? What's the thing that just frustrates you? It's like, oh man, it just drives me crazy, you know? Another question is, what's something the CEO or the pastor says all the time that I can echo?
That's great.
So I say, hey, I'm not there. This is not my event. This is your event. It's not my church. This is your church. And so what's language, things that you say, that he says, she says all the time that
I'm in tune,
that I can echo. In corporate, I'll put it on a slide. So I'll say, hey, so Mark always says, everybody laughs. So now they're like, oh, like he's
so smart, bro.
He knows us. So in the church space, it would be, Rich started off a series. We're going through Easter on, the rebel in me. We're going through the whole deal. Luke 15. Hey, today we're going to be jumping into Luke chapter 16. Hey, if you missed last week, it's the same version of that,
smart.
but in corporate. But it lets people know I'm not here for the Ryan show. And I'll ask, what's the week after me? Hey, Don Cherie's going to be speaking next week. Hey, you want to come back next week? Don Cherie's got a message that I believe is going to add value to your life. You don't want to miss it. Hey, it was great being with you. Have a great day. So those are things that allow you to...
This is why 5 churches want you to be their teaching pastor
well,
at once.
Yeah, not anymore. Sorry, guys. I'm just down to one. Then the other question is, what's your theme? Which could be, what's your sermon series? Hey, what's been talked about already? You can do your own research, but you want to be able to hear from the horse's mouth. Like, hey, what is the overall theme of this event? Luckily, I have a book called Leveling Up. A lot of times their theme is leveling up. I went, gotcha. And so that one's easy. Another question I will ask is, who is the best speaker you've ever heard and why? And who's the worst speaker you've ever heard and why? Wow. You don't have to tell me the name, but you do have to tell me why. That question alone, you will learn so much. You will learn so much. Number one, you'll learn that your world is not the world. They always give me a name I've never heard of in my life. This is the best speaker you've ever heard in your life. Never heard of them, which just tells you how big the world really is.
Yeah, very good.
And then they'll share something that they did. I'll look that person up and I'll go, oh man, that's something that I can learn from. Who's the worst speaker you've ever heard in your life? They'll typically name a celebrity. Because celebrities aren't good communicators.
They're just talking about them.
Yeah, so or they'll just give off, they didn't customize it to us. It wasn't relatable. It fell flat. They went over on time. They'll kind of give you their horror stories, but I'm always trying to learn from the best.
But you quickly
and
learn
the
what
worst.
they're valuing and what they're
absolutely.
frustrated by. It's like, all right, cool. These are things I can lean towards or I can avoid.
Absolutely.
And the thread of everything you're saying is humility.
No question.
This is not about me. This is about you. And humble yourself before the Lord. He will lift you up. It's actually fascinating how the scriptures are actually always true.
Yes.
They're always accurate.
No question.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist when you talk about leaders to go, the pain point in almost any leader is always, it's the blessing and it's also the burden, which is just people. Like you can't get anything done great without a great group of people.
Yeah.
And people can expedite things. People can slow things down.
That's right.
People, quite frankly, I like how Jim Collins says it. It's like people are not your greatest asset. The right people are.
That's right.
And in leadership, it's like you don't get perfect people. You're called to develop the right people, to build the right people.
That's right.
And I just love all the themes that you've written on. But like this last book that you just came out with about working and dealing with, complicated people.
Right.
I imagine people are like, please help us, because I just know for me in leadership, I'm an extrovert. I love being around people. People are the best. But the older I get and the bigger things grow, it's like I'm having to work now through that person over there is actually impacting all this, but I don't even have a direct line to that person anymore. I've empowered 3 layers over there. Talk to me about what you're discovering with all that, and even why you wrote that book, because that's a great book for those that are out there watching right now today to even get their hands on.
It's what's interesting is a lot of my books come from asking those questions.
Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges that your people are having? If I hear the same answer over and over again, I go, you should probably write a book on that.
Yep.
So my next book is called Stay Culture, The Hidden Architecture of Building a Workplace People Never Want to Leave.
Woo.
Why? Because I kept hearing over and over, a problem that people are having is keeping the right people. Before it was like, hey, what's your biggest hurdle? It was like, man, our people communication styles and politics and people fighting, and it's complicated.
Well, you're hitting the thread. I was writing songs 2 days ago with your friend Anna Golden.
Is that right?
And
she's
the
awesome.
opening line of the hook is, I'm gonna stay.
Oh, that's
because you're
awesome.
not moving.
Oh,
but it's just like
awesome.
right there. It's like stay. Yeah, like we throw
yeah.
staying parties at Boo Church.
You do. That's
Yeah, because
awesome.
everyone always throws going away parties,
Oh, I love that.
which is cool. But like, what about the dude that's still been here for 4 years and still doing it right? What about the guy who's been here for 8 years, still has a good attitude? Because it is hard to keep good people around. And so I love the fact that you're going to write on that.
That's
and I got
awesome.
the song for it. Rich, we're not putting a worship song with my corporate book.
Well, I am still in staying parties, and I'm literally about to put that in a chapter, and I'm
Put
going
it
to give
in.
you credit. That's awesome.
Well, you don't have to give me credit, but
I
we
will.
really did. It's like staying party. Like, just
love
because it's
that.
always like,
Yeah.
and we should throw going away parties,
Yeah.
but we should throw some staying parties.
party. I love
some.
that.
I got some troopers that have
love
been
that.
around this thing now for a decade.
I needed an edit for a book for a chapter, and that's it. That's
Staying,
what
throw staying parties.
Throw staying parties. I can't wait to throw that.
It's something, you know?
That's awesome. So on the complicated people side, we walk people through a framework of, number one, you have to realize that you are a complicated person. That's the first part. If you can't admit that you're a complicated person, you will never do well with working with complicated people because you think you're awesome and everybody else is complicated. When you have that mantra, you have a few options. One, you could try and change them, which, imagine if somebody walked in and said, I think I should just try and change Rich. Good luck.
Yep.
It's just not you could try, but how's that strategy working out for you?
I've tried with my wife for 20 years.
And it just, it gets difficult. But when you try to change people, not inspire them, change them, what you are inevitably communicating to the world around you is the world would be a better place if everybody else was just like me, led like me, communicated like me, had my personality, my pace, my preferences, emailed like me, did meetings like me, preached like me. That's just not true. You would never say that out loud, but that is somehow,
Yep, very good.
sometimes how we behave.
Very good.
So you have to start with this idea of, man, on the other side of me, it's complicated. And so even with my team, I feel so bad for my team because I travel so much. They're always trying to get a hold of me. I go, guys, I'm so sorry. It's complicated, right? They're like, yeah, good thing you wrote a book for us. I know. It's the Ryan Leak Group manual. That's why I wrote it. I remember there was a guy who I was working with on like some PR stuff, and he didn't know what the title of my book was. He said, we're gonna have you in LA, Miami, New York, we're gonna have your TV. And I was like, hey man, that sounds awesome, but I gotta speak. Do you know what I do for a living? And I sent him my calendar. I said, is there like a hybrid, virtual, something I could do? He wrote back, hi Ryan, you seem really complicated. I'm going to pass on working together. I said, hey Greg, I understand that, but I wrote a book, and if you would read that book, it would help you work with me. And so anytime that I'm teaching on how to work with complicated people, I always start with, let me get in the boat first. Hi,
Very
my name is
good.
Ryan Leak, and I am very, very complicated. If you can start with being aware of your own complexities, that makes you not always the easiest to work with. Well, then when you're dealing with somebody else that has an idiosyncrasy or complexity that just drives you crazy, you have to remember somebody is giving you a pass and they haven't told you. Somebody right now is just going, that's just Rich. That's just Ryan. That's just, they've chalked it off to your personality and they've just learned to live with it. And when you realize that somebody's giving you a pass, well, then you're going to move towards somebody with a little bit more understanding. And so I think when you're able to go, wait a minute, on the other side of me, it's a little complicated. So when it's your turn to be complicated, well, it's kind of like if you've ever sped past a police officer and you didn't get a ticket, you're like, thank God he didn't pull me over. And then somebody speeds past you and cuts you off. You're like praying they get pulled over. You're like, well, hold on a second.
Yep.
You were let off the hook, so don't hold somebody else onto it. The second thing that I think is very important when you're navigating this thing called people, these people called people, is you have to grow your connections. If you are trying to work with somebody that you failed to connect with, it's always going to be a difficult relationship. It's like being on a date. We're both dressed up. It's a nice restaurant. The picture looks nice, but there's no magic in the air. There's no romance. There's no connection. We ate, we talked. It does not mean we connected. And so when you are connected, it gives you relational equity. If you have relational equity, any difficult conversation that you need to have is way easier.
Way easier.
When it's a bro, hey man, hey, let's just talk. Hey dude, I'm not trying to come at you, but bro, you saw that girl at the gym. Like, dude, chill. Like that's not smart. Versus somebody you don't have any relational equity with, and you're like, hey dude, well, were you judging me, bro? What do you mean? It's like, but if we've got relational equity, bro, you know I'm not judging you. You just know, dude, that's stupid. So let me keep you 2 steps from stupid. Like you can say that to a friend, you can say that to somebody you've got relational equity with.
What are some secrets to getting connected, do you think?
I think the power of connection comes from the power of asking the right questions. So we like to equip our audiences with questions that, hey, you can ask somebody to just develop connections. One of the questions I always love asking people is, what's an acronym that people use in your industry that you don't actually know?
Oh yeah,
because people, they just be nodding their head. Yeah, I know what that means. Yeah, I've heard of that guy. Hey, I listen to that podcast. It's like you don't
People
know.
be nodding their head,
Like they just nod their head and pretend, and then they chat GPT it underneath the table. And so I just started years ago. Like asking companies like, hey, what does that mean? I remember the first time I was working with Chick-fil-A. They said, hey, we're a QSR. I said, guys, I actually want to grow.
Yeah, totally.
What's a QSR? And they started laughing. They're like, of course you don't know what a QSR is. You don't work here. They're like, I said, yeah. They said a QSR stands for quick serve restaurant. We are not a fast food restaurant.
I like it.
We're in line with Chipotle and Panera, not McDonald's. I said, I didn't know that. So the other day, I see something on social media about Chick-fil-A being the number 3 fast food restaurant in the country. I said, actually, they're not. They're a QSR.
Yeah, they're QSR.
You know? So you're learning things. So I always say, hey, whenever you pull somebody to the side and say, hey, is there an acronym we use all the time that you actually don't know? What you're doing is you're creating psychological safety. Hey, is there something that we mentioned in this meeting like, hey, I know you've been saved for 2 years, 3 years, but that doesn't mean you know what me and Rich know. We're pastors' kids. Like we've got a language.
Yeah, really.
We're aliens to people, you know? And so is there any word that we use that like you don't actually know? And it'll actually help you preach. You'll go, man, I just talked about that word on Sunday and I didn't actually even explain it. I just assumed that church people know what that means, but dude, you're in Miami. You know what I mean? It's like good. In a very young church. And so it's like, they don't know what that means. And even my wife and I recently transitioned from one church to Shoreline City, and our previous church leaned much older and way more churched. Shoreline, dude, people smoking weed in a parking lot.
Yeah.
It's a different world. And so language matters when it comes to those things. And so being able to pull somebody to the side to go, hey, I don't need you to be a know-it-all. We're a learn-it-all. We ask questions here.
Very good.
You will immediately get relational equity with that person and go, I'm safe with this person. Like I can actually have a conversation with this person. You reduce this, I got to impress you. I mean, it's Rich, man. I mean, you actually calm nerves of just going, no, like I don't need you to impress me. I don't need you to have a certain amount of Bible knowledge. Like if there's something you don't know, that's why you're here. Like we're going to help you. I always love asking a question. What was your first job? Everybody's first job always just has a story to it. I actually have audiences do this. They'll be talking for like 10 minutes. And I said, hey, I'll knock on the mic. I'll say, I asked you to only answer one question. And what happened? You didn't answer the question. Stories came. It's the power of questions. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's just, and you do this really well. I was actually talking to Earl about you earlier. I said, what's your favorite thing about Rich? He said, Rich is genuinely interested in whoever is in front of him. Genuinely curious all the time. Like that fascinates me. You made a birthday video for him, and you said, Earl, everybody who knows you loves you. And I thought, what is the common denominator of everybody who knows me. And I want it to be a statement like that. Like I'm always thinking about those things. And so being able to like be genuinely curious about another person and, hey, who's the person that has inspired you the most? They might talk about their parent. They might talk about a podcast. They might talk about somebody they follow online, but you're becoming genuinely curious about the other person. That builds connection. The last thing I think is important when working with complicated people is you just have to adjust your expectations. In our research, we kept hearing this phrase over and over again, and it was the phrase, I can't believe. I can't believe they would say that. I can't believe they posted it. Can you believe they posted it? I can't believe they said that in the meeting. I can't believe. And at one point we were like, hey, well, why don't you start believing them? You know this person. Like, why are you so shocked? You know?
Bro, this is great.
It's like, no. So what we train leaders to do is we say, hey, if you expect complicated, you can prepare for complicated. But if you let it catch you off guard on a Tuesday morning, then you just weren't paying attention.
Yeah, it's so good.
So, hey, if I'm prepared for it to go, you know what? I realized that this week, somebody could drop a ball. I realized that this week, you know, we're getting ready for conference, or we're getting ready for an album, or we're getting ready for this project. And most of us don't even realize that internally, we are expecting perfection at all times. And when somebody falls short, it's like our nervous system crashes. It's like, no, expect her to be flawless. Like I travel a lot, and most people expect airlines to be perfect. I just stopped doing that. I said, you know what? Could be some delays today. That's okay. Oh, I'm gonna spend 4 hours at the airport. So have a good day at the airport. Like you know it's the airport, right? Like, what did you think was going? That you see it's raining outside, or you see it's a hurricane outside. Like, did you expect it to just fly through the hurricane? Like what? But expectations, like people just, it's not lowering them. It's making them realistic for your spouse, for your kids, for your boss, for the intern, to just have expectations that people can actually live up to. You cannot get overly frustrated with people who failed to live up to expectations you failed to communicate. 99% of our expectations are unspoken. I'm expecting you to actually read my mind. But who's good at that? You know, it's like this. And so there's just, for the book, How to Work with Complicated People, our distributor dropped a couple of balls, bad ones. And my team was upset. And they called me and they go, "You're not upset?" I said, "Read chapter 8. I saw it coming a mile away. I said, I expected delays. So because I expected delays, doesn't mean I'm happy about the delay.
Yeah.
It just means I've been late before.
Very good.
So let's give them grace. And so guess what? I guess the book comes out 2 weeks later than we thought it was going to. Oh, that messes up our social media. So change the graphic. We're okay. Like, now you're the calm in the storm instead of joining the storm. All because you just reset your expectations.
Calm in the storm versus joining the storm.
You know what I
That's
mean?
a
It's
bar.
like, it's just, so yeah, we train leaders to, you know, we say a lot, you should see complicated coming a mile away.
It's a powerful resetting of the mind
Yeah.
that changes things. It's like, if you know I'm coming to push you, you can kind of brace yourself. You can kind of stand in a spot. It's like, all right,
Totally.
I didn't like the fact that you pushed me,
Yeah.
but I didn't topple over.
Sure.
If you're not expecting it, even someone little who's hitting you in an unexpected way can knock you over.
Totally.
And there's just something about being braced with my expectation. The scripture says that we should make allowances for each other's offenses. Like, do you have, when I was a kid, my dad would give me an allowance. It's like,
That's right.
do we have any kind of allowance at all in our spirit, in our mind, in our time, in our emotions, that people are going to drop balls? People are not going to know what you clearly expected out of them.
Yeah.
And I love it because this is an area that I struggle with.
Yeah.
Although I could teach some stuff on it, I still am always learning.
Sure.
But it always begins with you, like that is powerful. Like, oh, Rich, you're pretty complicated, dude. You're a lot to deal with. And why do I keep saying I can't believe this? Like, well, bro, something's wrong with your belief mechanism. Like, they've already shown you this part.
Yeah.
And clearly defining expectations is obviously a big part in any kind of organization. But
Totally.
I like the book even just from a friendship standpoint.
Totally.
that we got to be fast to forgive and
Yeah.
quick to listen. And curiosity is, I think, the space that creates connection, learning about someone.
Totally.
It's the learning that leads towards loving. And
Yeah.
I was with a friend the other day, and he was talking about some preacher who he's just seen clips, and it's like, man, that's your friend, right? Like, and maybe even the guy, the way he preaches or his style is not my style. He's like, he's a good guy. I was like, bro, if he was here right now, you'd love him.
For sure.
Because it's like that proximity always brings a version of perspective that we're missing out on sometimes.
No question.
And I know for me, that's a resource that so many of us as leaders, we have to continue to get better with working with the people around us.
Totally.
I've been married for 20 years.
Yeah.
We don't have the same problems we had in year one, but we're always learning and growing. And she's not the same girl I married 20 years ago. And I'm not the same dude. I think we're better, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to stay curious about discovering who have you become. And
Totally.
let's make sure that we are recalibrating. And more than anything, I think this big part here is creating allowances. So much of what you teach on and what you're talking about requires a high level of self-awareness. For you, see if I can phrase this the right way. Where do you feel like the line is, even just for Ryan, to wake up every day to go, I want to keep growing in self-awareness, but I don't want to cross over and like being self-absorbed.
Sure.
Like, how does the success not turn to selfishness? I think sometimes I have to weed that out of my own life and kind of like wring that out a little bit. Like, bro, you're making this all about you. Like, you're thinking about you more than I got into this because I loved God and I love people. But these days now, it's like my self-awareness comes to like what I need and what I don't have. Do you find any temptation there, or is there any language that you would have for some of that? Self-awareness versus being self-absorbed.
It's every day. It's every day, you know. Our friend Earl preached a message probably 3-4 months ago about laying down our crowns. And he said, you guys are so kind to me, but at the end of the day, I have to lay down my crown. And then he kneeled before our church and just illustrated, and he preached from his knees for about one of those 7 minutes, rain, fire, it was a moment that marked our church, because it was like any one of us could be tempted to just pick up a crown. And I really think it is a daily thing, especially in the day and age of social media. About a year and a half ago, I had 130,000 followers. And Instagram came out with this clean feature. Have you heard of this?
Tell me.
So clean feature, it will clear out any bots that you have. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I had somebody on my book team that said, hey, we're going to boost your accounts. And I was like, okay. They're like, yeah, you need more followers to sell more books, which I hate that whole conversation, by the way. But I said, okay. They said, give us your logins, all this stuff. Long story short, I started seeing all of these incredibly beautiful people started to follow me. And I was like, it's kind of weird. Why are all of these male and female models following me? They were all bots. And I was like, hey, we don't, I don't, first off, it's kind of odd that someone's going to be like, hey man, I love Ryan Leake, man, what a great guy. And why did he speak at a model conference? Like, what's going on? I said, it's weird. Like, I said, I don't need it. So I go to the clean feature. It will tell you how many bots you have.
Oh my gosh.
I had 60,000 bots out of 130,000. Half of my following was fake. And then I had all these people in my inbox going, hey, I just added 2,000 followers to your account. Hey, if you pay us 10 grand, we'll do blah, 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 blah. And so I didn't want to hit the clean feature. I liked having more than 100,000 followers. And I thought, man, if I hit the clean feature, dude, I'll go down to like 70,000. It's not the same, you know, like the respect isn't there, you know. But dude, in that moment, that was a crown I just had to lay down.
Wow.
And so I hit clean. And I go down to my measly 70,000. And then the next day, we posted a video. I got 5 million views. And I got, 80,000 followers in a week. And then every month since then, we've had a piece of content go viral over the past year and a half. So a lot of what people have seen on social media, like, dude, your rise is crazy, man. What do you think it is? And I went,
The clean feature.
surrender, man. You would be surprised how much we, me and my social media team, and I just got a social media team probably 6-7 months ago, that someone is now taking over that for me. Do we pray over posts? We lay hands on that phone. I say, Lord, whoever is supposed to hear this message, church, non-church, I don't care, may it be on their phone. You control algorithms more than any company ever could. So would you get this message to the person that needs it? If it gets 1 million views, great. If it gets 25,000 views, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people who, in 60 seconds, I tell people this all the time, especially pastors. There are people in this world who will give you 60 seconds, who will never give you 60 minutes in your church. So I take social media very seriously. We craft that content the same way we would do a service. It's like, this might be the only thing that somebody ever watches. And if I can capture their friend's attention and they trust me, they trust Ryan, man, that I take that trust very seriously. And for them to be able to share it with the friend that they work with, and they go, hey, would you watch this? And they go, who is this guy? Man, that really spoke to me. Does he have more? Well, yeah, he actually preached at my church on Sunday. You should watch he preaches. It's like, yeah, he kind of does both. You should follow him. And so man, we just, but all
powerful.
of it is, dude, every day when we pray over that social media post, I'm also surrendering the fame that comes with it. I'm surrendering how many likes did it get? How many comments? You're going, Lord, let this be what it's supposed to be. And that was part of the reason why I said, man, I really got to hand this off to another team so that I'm not even, because even as it rose,
Absorbed with it, obsessed with it.
I was like,
Oh yeah.
okay, so was it the video? Lord, is it you? Is it like, is your, God, are you breathing on this? I'm asking you to breathe on it. Is this your idea? Is it? And so, dude, my headspace was just off with it. And I was like, man, I gotta build a team around it. Now we actually help influencers with their own platforms and help other people do it now too. But yeah, dude, it's a daily.
It's daily.
Yeah, there is, you will never arrive at humility, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
It's a daily.
Pick up the cross daily.
You
gotta lay it down every day.
Yeah, you lay it down every day, and I also think that there is the top corporate communicators, I don't know, might have 3,000 followers on Instagram. Like the number one CEO in all of Miami,
Right.
doesn't even have Instagram. I looked this morning. He has 11 connections on LinkedIn. $40 billion organization and 5,000 employees. It's like that space isn't as like fame driven,
Right.
if you will. So part of it is like, yes, you have to humble yourself, and at the same time, it's like nobody knows who you are. Like, get over yourself. Like, you know, like,
No, it's healthy though. It's like we got bad measuring sticks sometimes.
Yeah, you know, dude, I was working with this NBA player, and he is, I'll just say this, he is an NBA All-Star. And during COVID, they got COVID tested twice a day. Jeez. And so I'm FaceTiming with him before every game, praying for him, whatever. And so one game, he's getting swabbed. And then the doctor said, "What's your name?" And then he says his name to the doctor, like to let the doctor know, this is my name. And this is in the stadium. And I thought, how don't you know who this is? But he was so humble. Like, he was like, I don't expect everyone to know who I am. And I'm like, I mean, you kind of should, you know. It's just like, but even in his world, He's very into fashion. Anytime he goes to like a fashion deal, he walks in and says, "Hi, my name is XYZ," and they go, "What do you do?" He goes, "I play basketball." You know, it's just like, and I'm like, if he can walk with humility, I'm like,
very good.
What are we talking about?
No,
you know, so, but yeah, dude, it's a daily thing to lay at the feet of Jesus.
I think all of us, I think that's a very, very honest answer. I could talk to you all day, and I kind of want to. I think you actually have to go teach and speak, and I think we keep you any longer.
Sure.
The invoice you're going to send us is going to be crazy. We always love to ask this question.
Sure.
What's an area right now that you feel like you need to mature in? What's an area that you're going, man, I'm kind of immature in this? And
is this going to be part 2 of like the whole episode? Do I need to come back for this? Man.
You're definitely coming back.
Oh man,
you're definitely coming back.
I would say as my life has progressed, and things have drastically changed, it hasn't changed that much for the people around me. For friends, it's like they just kind of have the same job. You know, they work for Royal Caribbean. We sell cruises. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is a. I kind of always have an exciting new story to tell, and so the area I've got to mature in is like continuing to make other people the star of the show in conversations, which is very difficult. The other area I could really mature in is just parenting. You know, my biggest struggle is comparing my upbringing to theirs, which is so unfair. They weren't there. You know,
you're kind of like what I was walking to school in barefoot in the snow.
I mean,
y'all are spoiled.
It's kind of the mantra. It's like the fact that like
I was eating sushi last night with my kids, and I realized I hadn't eaten edamame till I was 19 years of age, and my kids are like, "Dad, I don't want this." I was like, "You have no idea that you're 4 eating edamame. I didn't have it till I was 19.
Exactly.
I don't like this. You better shut your mouth, you little yapper."
No,
Sorry.
this is I mean it's just trying to grow up while you know raising an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old and really stepping outside of you know, like being the adult in the room. Sometimes in the process of I think parenting an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old, I turn into an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so I definitely think I could mature in that. You know, I think I can always mature in marriage of just like, you know, what I do is very high octane and marriage is very much like hand holding. And so I think even that, that switch for, it's a completely different mode. That transition from work to home, and I could totally mature in that. And I think in how I again how many answers?
I love it.
I mean, you're
giving honest ones. I like it.
I've got so many. I think. You know what I mentioned earlier about just certain rooms that you start to get invited into. To really, man, understand like, man, you've been brought in the room for a reason, for such a time as this.
Does it make you feel insecure sometimes?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. I turned 40 this year.
How do you feel about that?
Man, I honestly did. When I turned 29, and this might be full circle for the whole podcast because we're going back to where we began. My last day of my 20s, I was speaking for a school district, speaking to all of their teachers, and they had seen the Chasing Failure documentary. And I was on an executive team at the church at the time, which is fine. And the principal comes to me, she goes, "Do you want to know why I had you come speak?" I said, "Sure." She goes, "It's not because you're a good speaker." I said, "Thank you." I think, you know, kind of one of those backhanded compliments
people say,
that you'd be like, "Okay, thanks." And she says, "The reason I invited you is because my daughter has chosen a boyfriend that we don't like. and he's a drug addict, and he lives on the floor of a crack house.
Oh my God.
And we don't love her choice, but what's interesting about this man is he does love basketball. So he came over to our house and we showed him your documentary. Do you want to know what he did with your documentary? He called his mother, who he had not spoken to in 5 years, and they sat down together and they started writing letters to junior colleges all around the country saying, will you let me come play basketball? He wrote 73 letters and started playing college basketball that fall. Stop. She goes, you are not just a speaker. She goes, you picked a young man's life off the floor.
Jesus.
And my birthday was the next day. And I asked myself, how do I want to spend my 30s? I think I want to spend my 30s pulling people's lives off the ground.
Preach.
And this executive team is a great team, but somebody else can do this. What's the thing that God's called me to do? And I called our friend and I stepped down. He said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know yet. But I said, I think God's got something in store for my 30s that he's charted a course. He's there. I'm not, but I got to go find out. I can always come back here. I can always join an executive team and add value in some way, shape, or form, but I only get 130s. And God has done immeasurably more than I could ever think, ask, or imagine. I mean, it just... dude, it's blown my mind. So turning 40, I'm now asking the question, God, what do you want to do with my 40s? And again, dude, it is a little scary because you go, I don't know where all of this will go, but man, we just continue to trust God with our business and opportunities and everything, and just try to give our best every single day.
I think he's saying move to Miami and join the executive team of the church.
Hey, here's the deal. I'm always like, Lord, whatever. Dude, that's also the scary thing, is that like you start experiencing all these things. You're like, what if God's like, I'm going to take it away? And I'm always like, well, let me not like get attached to things and just
you
stay
hold it
close
loosely.
You have to, man, because you can get used to it. And dude, every time I get on a plane, I go, what if this was the last one? Like, would you be okay with that? And dude, I love the scripture that, you know, after David served the purpose of his generation, he fell asleep. Dude, I wake up every day and think, I'm serving the purpose of my generation. And my son asked me the other day, he goes, hey, Dad, what do you want me to be when I grow up? I said, just serve the purpose of your generation. I don't know what that's going to be. Do I need to be a speaker like you? It's hard. I wouldn't. But if you'd like to, you know, like that's on you. I hope I inspire you, but like zero pressure from here. Me and your mom are here to resource whatever God's called you to do. I was talking to this guy the other day. I got a million stories. I was talking to this guy the other day. He's got a $100 million company, and he got it from his dad. I said, man, and he said, I'm thinking about doing something different. I said, yeah. I said, can I ask you a couple questions? He said, yeah. I said, are you going to give the business to your kids? He said, yeah, that's the plan. I said, why? He said, well, why not? I said, well, because you don't want it right now. What if they don't want it? I said, something is being impressed upon us, generation after generation, that maybe God didn't call you to do in the first place. And I said, as your friend, I just want to let you know, you got options. You actually got more options than most people. I said, you could sell, you could go buy a different business, but I said, the purpose of all of this, and this is a man of faith, I said, it's for you to honor God with your life and serve the purpose of God for your generation. And if that assignment is different for your kids, why would you pass them down your assignment? It's not theirs. And so, man, I think for me, whatever that assignment is in my 40s, I'm just praying that God would give me the character and maturity to be able to handle whatever comes my way. I really do have to be careful with my words, because it is utterly scary, the private conversations that my wife and I have, that my team and I have. And then I'll get a phone call from that industry that, I did a deal here in Florida for Democrats and Republicans. And they say, hey, would you just come talk about leadership? I said, I would be glad to. You know, can you talk about how to work with complicated people? I go, I was born for this. Let's go.
Let's go.
But you're walking into that room and you're just going, man, I've still got some growing up to do. And now it used to be like working with professional athletes. Now it's working with GMs and owners. And ironically, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, he runs a company in Pontiac, Michigan. And somebody that works for him goes, you know Matt loves you, right? I went, how does he even know? He goes, he plays your stuff in our meetings all the time.
Stop.
I said, well, tell him to call me. They go, no. Just message him. I'm like, where? They're like, on Instagram. I go, you don't DM billionaires on IG? They're like, I mean, he'll respond. I said, hey, Matt, it's Ryan. What's up, dude? He's like, Ryan, love your stuff, dude. Come to Phoenix City Times. I'll be my wife. Went out to Phoenix. You're just there. You're just hanging out, and you're like, what did I say that added value to your space? I'm humbled by that. I pinch myself every day. I can't. I'm like you. The whole framework of expecting complicated comes from Colossians 3:13. Make margin for other people's faults. Leave allowance. It's like, it's a scripture you and I know very well. Yeah. I just built a corporate framework around it. So I don't think it's that mind-blowing. But when people hear me talk, they're like, dude, I've never thought of it like that. I'm like, I mean, Jesus said it. I mean,
yeah, totally.
Apology. But it's like, they're not Jesus people.
Right.
So they're like, where are you getting all this stuff from? I'm like, oh, dude, have you ever heard of Jesus? Have you ever heard like the word, like this stuff comes alive? Like this is the backbone of everything that we do. And so dude, it's just maturing with all of that, you know, with everything that God continues to bring us. Man, I pray for the maturity and the character to just steward it well. You know,
it's happening, brother. You're doing it.
So
your 40s are going to be blessed. I'm excited for you to turn 40.
Yeah, me too.
You've got a whole lot more life in front of you.
Yeah.
And the best really is in front of you. It's exciting. And you are maturing, you are growing. And I just want you to know that everyone here in Miami, we got your back. We love you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for today. I mean, like, honestly, just so honest, so helpful, insightful. Yeah. And I just appreciate you.
Yeah.
And if you're still watching with us, an hour and 59 minutes later.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, but we keep going.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We just go as long as we want around here.
That's awesome.
If you are still watching, if you're not following him, I don't know if people even say this anymore, follow someone on social media, but like it really is so helpful. And we're hoping he's going to come preach at VOOT sooner than later. But go check out all of his books. We talked about some of them today. Go get them. These are great resources. They're not just inspiring. They're actually full of tools that are going to help you become a better leader. And so we're grateful for you, brother.
Thank you, my friend.
And for all of you out there, thank you for tuning in and leave us some comments and feedback. We're definitely going to do a part 2 because we haven't even scratched. We didn't even talk marriage. We didn't even talk parenting.
Oh, yeah.
And I need all the parents. I'm not ready for 11. I'll tell you that much right now.
Goodness.
We love y'all. God bless.
If you've been down too long, stand up and praise the Lord. Wake up the lion inside of your lungs.
Do you know the point of the church is to be an embassy of heaven? What we need are snippets of heaven on earth.
The God of the universe calls you a friend. You're a friend of the Most High God.
The blood of Jesus is a red line through your fear. Fear gone. Shame gone.